We are live streaming, and I am also going to turn the recording on, okay?
All right, are we ready to go then? I don't know if everybody's up.
This is present.
Looks like we have Mark and Glenn.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so that'll work as a quasi chair is here, so that'll work as a quasi roll call. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 6:32 on March 17th, 2026. We have a pretty brief agenda. I will make note that we have appoint vice chair twice on there. Obviously, one of those is supposed to be appoint chair, and we have an addendum of a brief discussion to add to that too. So if you would join me for flag salute, I would appreciate that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thanks for joining us. First item up is swearing in of Mark Young for term ending December 31st of 2028. And I will turn that over to which one of you, Julie or Sean, is administering?
Julie, it's my first time. So
all righty, cool.
Here we go.
Okay, Mark, raise your right hand.
Okay.
And repeat after me.
All right.
I state your name.
I, Mark Young,
Do solemnly swear
that
I will faithfully perform the duties of planning commissioner and support the Constitution and laws of the United States and of the state of Oregon. So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back aboard.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark, for being willing to serve.
Yeah.
Next item up is appointment of vice chair. So we have not had a meeting yet this calendar year. So this is the meeting where we will do our reorg of leadership positions. So with that, I would entertain a motion of nomination for chair.
I mean, I would like to nominate Glenn for chair if he's interested.
I would accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations, however? Going once, going twice. Again, anybody else? I don't have to serve in this capacity, but
I don't. I'll second that.
All righty. Well, hearing that, I will go ahead and close nominations. I don't think that's a thing. All those in favor of having me continue to serve as chair, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I only heard one aye, so
we have some on mute. So John Max and Phil is in, and he's there on mute.
Yes.
Oh, he just did.
I second the motion.
All righty. Well, that sounds like a majority then. So I appreciate the confidence and I guess you're stuck with me for another year. So Moving along to item number 4, appoint vice chair. I would again take nominations for vice chairman.
Everyone here.
We're there.
If he has no objections, I'd like to nominate Phil.
Bill, would you accept a nomination?
Yeah, sitting next to you is a honor. So yes, I would accept.
Great.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations and move to a vote. All those in favor of Phil serving as vice chair for this calendar year 26, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you for Phil for being willing to serve. Next item up is the approval of minutes for the meeting on December 10th, 2025. If you've had a chance to look over that, I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I move the motion to accept the those minutes. I read through them.
I would second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? That motion carries. And we're moving right through the agenda. So the next item up, I guess, am I turning this over to Sean for that discussion, to start that discussion out then?
Well, so Chair, Mr. Kennedy is asked to speak with the Planning Commission. I'm not sure how he wants the discussion to kind of be set up, or for sure what his discussion topic is. So I'll let him start.
Okay, so I will defer then and give the floor for a few minutes to Matt to get us started on what you would like to approach us about.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Planning Commission. I'm coming tonight about an issue I'm having with some code compliance in one of my properties that happens to sit on 3rd Street downtown. And I appreciate the city's effort to try to upscale or regulate some of the activity in the city, and no one wants to see that more than I do. When I bought the property along 3rd Street from Union Pacific Railroad many years ago, it was zoned industrial. I, Matt Kennedy, am the one that had a vision for having a 2-sided street of downtown Hubbard, not 1-sided. And if I was in for money or easy fix, I could have built warehouses and had storage and all this on that property all this time, and I would have been a lot financially better off. But I had a vision to have a downtown Hubbard that kind of felt like a downtown. And so nobody wants to see downtown renovated or puts more effort and time into that than I do. And so in January, or at the end of the year, I was by the mayor, and maybe Sean had let me know that there was an issue. There had been an incident down on my parking lot, which is across from Engelman Electric and Hubbard Inn there. And I have a person parking some vehicles down there. And there was a criminal that ended up on the property and whatnot. So that kind of brought some attention to it. And in January, I got a letter from the city, and it noted some concerns about code violations. And it mentioned municipal code, and it mentioned development code. And so Sean and I have been kind of going around, and I guess the city attorney's been weighing in, and a lot of people have weighing in behind the scenes. I met with the chief and just trying to find out what compliance looks like, because there's some things mentioned in here that aren't happening. There's some concerns in here that, that have been addressed, and I'm trying to find out what compliance looks like under the municipal code and under the zoning code. And part of my struggle, there's been a lack of specificity. Well, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're storing junk. So I've gone above what I've been told are specifics to try to address some aesthetics. And Sean and I, or I guess the city attorney, one thing is this fine line between what is parking and what is storage. And people have parked on that property my entire life. and longer, and I have video or evidence back to the 1930s. I've gravelled it and continue to park on it. The city, the restaurants across the street, everybody parks on that property and always has. In this particular case on 3rd and G Street, I charge a person to park cars there. And so finally, the end all be all has been determined that 90 days is the limit for parking, and after day 91, it becomes storage.
No, Matt, that's not accurate. So the 90-day conversation was if you went through the process, that would be considered acceptable for storing cars on that property. So I want to be clear that that's where we left it.
Okay.
It's not that I gave blanket approval that without going through some sort of site review, that 90 days was acceptable. When we were talking with the mayor on site, we discussed that if you went through the process, 90 days could be acceptable. And vehicles have to be operating.
Okay. No, so we've had some criteria, and the letter I have dated January 7th identifies 2 different processes. And so the reason I wanted to go, Sean, she said I need to apply, I need to comply, I need to apply and whatnot. And so I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. So she said that she wants me to apply for a site development review. So I'm going to read out of the Hubbard Development Code. I'm sure maybe there's some newer planning commissioners that aren't familiar, but section 3.10501, the purpose of site development review. So I'm just going to read you out of the development code. Site development review process is intended to A, guide future growth and development in accordance with the comprehensive plan and other related ordinances. B, provide an efficient process and framework to review development proposals. C, ensure safe, functional, energy efficient developments which are compatible with the natural and man-made environment. And D, resolve potential conflicts that may arise between proposed developments and adjacent uses. And finally, E, the site development review provisions are not intended to preclude permitted multifamily housing development. So that's the purpose. Go down 2 sections to 3.10503, applicability of provisions. So this is how this applies. Site development review shall be applicable to all new developments, major remodeling of existing developments, and change of occupancy as defined by the Uniform Building Code, and or change of use for commercial and industrial developments. So I'm willing to be told differently, but I strongly believe the Planning Commission has no jurisdiction or authority in this matter because there is no development. This is an undeveloped site, and this is a process, and I've gone through development. I've done it when I did the bistro, I've done the warehouses across from City Hall. I've been through the development process. There is no development. There's no, in the letter I got, it said the city may shut off city services. There aren't any because there's no development. There's no water, there's no sewer, there's no power, there's a gravel site. I'm not asking to develop it. I hope that someday I will, and I hope that someday I'll put a pretty building there. And when I do, as I always have, I'll come to the Planning Commission and I'll ask how I can develop this site. So the development code applies to development. It doesn't apply to use. In the letter I received from city staff, and I guess the city attorney, it talks about I have a right to judicial review. And I, in some of our email correspondence, told that this could be a municipal court. If that's the path it goes, I'm trying my darndest to comply. I've altered my tenant's lease to comply with these developing standards that aren't in the code, but they're being interpreted to me on the fly. So, and Sean, you can shake your head, but I emailed you the day we walked the site to confirm the 3 criteria. And you didn't say it was at that point subject to an application process. I wanted to make sure I understood because parking versus storage is a fine line, and that applies to the zoning. And if I would have left it industrial, I guess I could have storage, but you're saying parkage is allowed, storage is not. And so I asked, what is the difference? How long can something be parked before it's considered storage? And if I misinterpreted that, you said the city attorney noted that 90 days would be acceptable. I emailed you after that. So anyway, I'm not here with the Planning Commission to nitpick the compliance elements. If I'm out of compliance, I've offered staff to cite my tenant, She said that it has to be on me. If somebody's breaking the law or the code, and all over town, go cite them. I'm a little dismayed that the only ones spending money to develop downtown were nitpicking like this, and staff time and apparently attorney time is being wasted on this. Drive around. There's so many. I live by a junkyard, and I see these people with yards full of RVs and boats and stuff, and I'm just asking how I can comply. So, with respect to the chair and to the planning commission, I'm not even saying these aren't relevant issues. It's just not in your jurisdiction. If I am forced or told that I need to come back for a site development review, the information I will submit to you in that process is very much what I'm telling you tonight. It will be a blank application, and I'm going to tell you I'm not asking to develop the property because I'm not.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Sean?
Well, just
Because I mean, it's a pretty loose discussion. We don't have a hearing. There's no, there's no business in front of us with, with what we have here. So I'm not that my hands are tied, but we don't, I mean, discussion is fine if that would help, come to a resolution, but we don't have any business per se on this at the moment. I'm not saying that this won't come to us in the future, but if you have, anything you want to add, go ahead, Sean.
Well, I have to say, Chair and Planning Commission. So I think Mr. Kennedy and the city are at an impasse on this issue. I've had many conversations with our city attorney, our city planner, how we interpret code. Some things are being taken out of context. And so I feel like we're at an impasse, and if I'm listening to my city attorney and city planner, there are two options. One would be a site development review, because what has happened on that property has changed from when he initially purchased the property. There has been a change in occupancy. And in the perspective from the city attorney and the city planner, vehicles that are parked on there for a year or more is not considered parking. That's considered storage. And the vehicles, many of them are inoperable. We've had that conversation, and that then refers to more of a junkyard, and our code does mention inoperable vehicles. So we're really at an impasse here.
So again, I'm not going to debate those specifics. I don't know if you've tried to start the cars, you know that they're inoperable, the tires have been replaced, and I've changed my tenants. My tenant said, I'll comply. Whatever you want, just tell me. Tell me what it is compliance looks like. That's been said all along, and so I've tried to email, I've updated his lease. I said, clean it up, it looks like crap, because I'll be the first to admit it looks like crap. It's why I put black barrier around that on the back when the city never asked me to. It looks like crap. So I've mandated to him to reduce the amount of vehicles, change the way they're parked, head-in parking. I've done all these things to try to beautify it, comply, and anyway, we can have that discussion. But, and I'm also going to add this. I know people are trying, but I've lived in this town long enough, and officials and city attorneys and police chiefs and planning people have got it wrong. Many times, we're all human. So just because somebody in the background is saying this is the way it works, I'm sorry, I challenge that, because I've been around long enough to see Public Works make the wrong calls and tell a private property owner to put in a sewer backwards, reverse grade. I've watched public officials be wrong. And so Sean has to be she has a team behind her of planners and attorneys, and they can be telling her that. But I am not developing the property. And so that attorney should step up and quit putting this on Sean. Tell me where in the code. I keep asking where in the code. Where in the code does it say that I should take this to the planning commission? This talks about a change of occupancy per the uniform building code. I'm not building anything. So, the city attorney might need, let's have a conversation. I'm workable. If we're at an impasse, I guess I go before a judge. And, I don't want it to end on a sour note. Again, I'm trying to comply and will. I just don't think there's anything for this body to review. And this is the application that I was asked to submit. So when I found out this was the application and Sean sent it to me last week, I realized it was too late in the game to submit that application. And I said, well, let's get on the agenda because I would like to address the planning commission and find out if you guys all feel I need to submit a site development review for no development, then I will take that into account. But I'm here to argue that that's not appropriate, that application doesn't apply in this case.
Do any planning commissioners have any questions?
Not at this time.
Not on the top of my head. This is all of a sudden.
I'm sorry, what was that last comment? This is all wet?
This was all of a sudden.
Yeah, okay. How about you, Phil? Do you have any questions?
No, not today. I just would say that if he's been, I mean, we've had parking all the time there, and it's a good point. If the vehicles are there, if they're broken, we don't know. You know, did the police go over there? Did they cite somebody? Did the attorney himself go down? You know, we don't know. I mean, I don't think we have any business to be talking, or Matt should be talking in this realm until they figure that whatever the situation is, and he's not developing anything, I don't think. So that's all I really have.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I was here when this was first brought to our, not to our attention, but when the change of use was brought about. And I do remember specifically that what is happening on that property was not desired for it to be happening. So I do understand there being some concern from this, not just from city, but from other folks. I also am, I mean, we're sort of hamstrung. We have no, official testimony. I mean, this is a really, really loose conversation. So I think it would, at this juncture, it would be best if I probably coordinated with Sean to find out even what next step would look like. And then I'm not sure it's appropriate for me to intercede with Matt, but I would, I'd be certainly open to a conversation, but I'm not saying, I don't want to do that. I just, we don't have any, I mean, we really don't have any background. We don't have any supporting material. So we're sort of running blind.
And those, Chair, that is, I mean, that is part of, because, you have to put in the surrounding uses. Anytime you make a development application, you look at all those things. And when I develop it, I will. So this continues outside of this end of the street site. And for all of my ownership and decades prior, everybody parks on the property for free. This is the one place that I get some compensation. And I too realize it doesn't look, and I can understand citizens not liking the way it looks. There's a little bit of, well, then go build something better or do yourself different. But, unless these things have to be defined in the code. It's not about feelings. And so I keep looking to the code, and this, auto wrecking or all these things that aren't being, these cars look crappy. But what am I to judge what is crappy? Can I go call and say, I don't like my neighbor's car, it's a beat up old truck or whatever, and I don't like looking at it? I mean, I understand. And back to my initial point, first thing I said, I want this town to grow and look better and be better more than anyone. And I'm on board, and I'm doing things that haven't even been dictated to me by staff or the city attorney to work on this site to make it look better and feel better and be more in compliance. I will continue to do that, but I guess the only reason this informal conversation exists tonight is to see if the planning commission wants to hear a development application, because that's going to cost me time, it's going to cost me money, it's going to cost staff time, and so there, I don't know what I'm going to fill out for development when there is none occurring.
So again, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about what we have done behind the scenes as far as talking with the planner and the city attorney and the emails that have been going back and forth with Matt and I, and what we have cited, and specifically in code, the areas that we have cited about where there's non-compliance. We have verified that those vehicles, some of them do not operate. We verified that. We have had criminal activity on that property because of what is going on. So I would be more than happy to engage in a conversation about that and figure out next step forward. And if the direction is the city doesn't do anything, I'm fine with that. I've been directed to follow up with code compliance, that this is not in compliance, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, well, if my other commissioners are okay, because I don't want to do this unilaterally, but if they're okay with us having a conversation in the interim between the next, our next regular scheduled meeting, I would certainly welcome that. If my other commissioners are okay with that, it's really your decision.
It would be more fair that you're armed with more evidence and our correspondence. I think that would be a good idea from my perspective, and I'd be willing to participate if that is desired, or you can talk amongst yourselves. I would add, and Sean made a comment, and it doesn't offend me whatsoever, but a criminal event occurred because of what is going on there. A guy on parole, a hardened criminal, broke into a car and stayed there. Sean, if somebody breaks into your garage, is it your fault because you have a garage? Criminals go where they go, and you're telling the planning commission and the public that a bad person came there because of what's going on there. That's
because
just
of
not
the
right.
access,
That's not fair.
Matt. So just like the police, and I'm not going to debate this, but the police chief cited that location is unsafe.
I talked to him and he didn't say that. So maybe people need to quit planning all this behind my back and involve me in the conversation. I sat with him in my office after our conversation. What can I do? What are your concerns about safety? So you've told me the police chief has concerns. He's not telling me that. So I'm all about compliance. So maybe the planning commission, staff, whoever, let's all meet roundtable. The chief, the attorney, whoever. All I'll end this with is I am game to make it better, to make Hubbard better. And I understand this is unsightly and I'll work on that. But you don't blame somebody for a bad guy showing up on your property.
I'd like to weigh in. I'd like to be part of that conversation also. I think it's more of a code deal than anything. If there is, well, really, if the building, they've always been there, and all of a sudden somebody's pissed off, we can't tell Matt not to do what he wants to do there. He's been doing it for years. So I think we should have that conversation with the roundtable, like Matt is mentioning, Glenn and Sean.
Okay, just a reminder, my last day is April 9th, so I'll try and get that scheduled before then.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Shauna. We have to be careful with making a decision before there's a decision, because if this ends up coming to us, we still have to be able to act as an impartial body. So
yep.
There's that to consider. Plus there's we definitely can't we can't have a quorum present at any roundtable, because that would also be problematic, I'm assuming. I'm no attorney, but my guess is that would be problematic. So it's going to have to be probably a recommendation to a sort of thing as to how maybe we could best find a path forward out of this for everybody. So I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the testimony. I appreciate Matt coming down, and Sean, I appreciate you giving us some background on it from your side too. So if there's nothing further, again, we can't really make a decision on something that.
No, you have no application, but yeah, look, if there ends up being an application, you can hear it at some point. That's all fine. I just wanted to let you know that I'm not doing any development, and if I don't know, I'd like to hear from these people in the background having all these things to say rather than them having to funnel through Sean. The chief is saying this, the attorney's saying this. If they have a lot to say it to my face. I'm a grown man and I'm a workable human being. I appreciate the planning commission hearing me tonight, and we don't need to waste some time on this. We need to make progress, and let's make it a better situation than it is today. So thank you for hearing me out.
All righty, thanks. I would entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing further.
I motion.
This is Nash.
I second.
Right. Yeah. There we go.
Earlier.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thanks for joining us and appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you all.